Hello everyone, it's Jamarl Thomas. Welcome to the Progressive Soapbox. Let's see. Oh, my signal has been doing poorly, and this video took a while to start up, so I'm not quite sure what's going on. But let's go on as if things are going okay. Allow me to check my sound. By the way, the reason why the ISO is at the bottom, channel's demonetized. Can't give the super chat, however you can give it through an alternative. That alternative is the link below in the description box. It's through PayPal, so it's nothing sketchy. Let's see, something interesting has taken place. At least I think it's interesting. So the question becomes whether or not Brett Kavanaugh, who's the troglodyte that Donald Trump has chosen to get on the Supreme Court. Sorry, I'm still checking levels. Yeah, good. He's what I would consider made one step closer to getting to the Supreme Court. Maybe. We don't necessarily know for certain, but maybe. I don't want him on the Supreme Court. I think anytime you put somebody on the Supreme Court for God knows how long the person is a crapshoot. Especially when the person is coming from a Republican. You wouldn't necessarily take the word that the person is giving you as the word of God, meaning just because the person says something doesn't necessarily mean you can take it as being true. Also, just from a fairness standpoint, and I know fairness maybe doesn't matter in politics, they stole 2 Supreme Court seats. One milquetoast Merrick Garland is supposed to be sitting on the Supreme Court approving corporate stuff while knocking down social stuff right now. But that's not happening. This is another stolen Supreme Court seat. That's the way I see it. I would make the argument, and I stand by the argument, that Bush should not have been able to get his picks because Bush should have never been in that office. Same thing with Donald Trump, at the very least from the standpoint of Obama's pick of Garland. At least from the standpoint of Obama's pick of Garland. Nevertheless, the thing that people keep bringing up with Kavanaugh is Roe v. Wade. Are they going to take out Roe v. Wade? Would this be the bullet to the heart of Roe v. Wade? Would this be the thing, the stake that they take and plow it into the chest? The Democrats had hoped that they can convince Susan Collins of Maine. This is Susan Collins of Maine. They were hoping that this woman, Susan Collins of Maine, will be the woman on the wall. You could say the vest around the vagina. The something to prevent them from attacking women's rights. That they can appeal to her as a woman, not necessarily a conservative. Essentially a chastity belt. A chastity belt. The thing is, the Washington Post has put out today that this woman, Susan Collins, has been in talk with Ben Kavanaugh. And after talking with Kavanaugh for multiple hours, I think they said 2 hours, Kavanaugh has appealed to her and said, Roe v. Wade is established precedent. Roe v. Wade is not being changed. The reason why I say that this, to some degree, changes things is because the angle of attack that was going to be used in order to try to get her on board was, they're going to get rid of Roe v. Wade. You have an election coming up. What are those people going to think? That you are going to be the vote that allows this man to get in and take out Roe v. Wade. Well, if she can sell to her constituents that he said Roe v. Wade is established precedent, I don't know why you would believe that, but he said it. Would that be enough for her to give him the vote? Would it be enough? By the way, Mike Pence would still have the tie-breaking vote. Right now, there are 49 Democrats, 50 Republicans. 2 of the Democrats are not really Democrats, they're independents. So put a fudge on that, but they're going to vote Democrat. And you're going to have many Democrats that may vote for Kavanaugh. So trying to get her on board may become somewhat of a moot point. You would have to be able to get all of the other Democrats in alignment and her on board in order to prevent this. Can they do it? I'm skeptical that Chuck Schumer can keep his own team on board. I'm skeptical Chuck Schumer can keep his own team on board. And if Chuck can't, then it's not going to matter. Then it's not going to matter. But we'll see. At the very least, this is just a heads up. The Democratic plan of trying to get a Republican, maybe one or two, to appeal to their femininity of not necessarily killing Roe v. Wade. Well, that plan has just been hidden in these. Balthazar, doesn't SCOTUS need to repeal Planned Parenthood v. Casey, current judicial precedent before Roe v. Wade? Chucky the Shoe can't even keep his own glasses on his nose. Yeah. I don't think he'll be able to keep his own team together. I mean, you have some of these people like Doug Jones, who's openly flouting this idea of potentially voting for Kavanaugh. Not to mention, what's his name? The other cat from West Virginia, Joe Manchin. So they would have to keep their own team in alignment and make the argument that he's going to do something to invalidate Roe v. Wade and throw it back to the states, if they're going to be able to get Susan Collins, Joe Manchin right. The problem is, he's just had a conversation with Collins, and he's already told her, don't worry, trust me, I'm not going to do anything to Roe v. Wade. I don't know why you would trust that, but okay. But okay. I would disband the Supreme Court. I wouldn't necessarily disband the Supreme Court, but I would damn sure attack him if I was a lefty. I would damn sure attack him. It would be absurd to overturn Roe v. Wade. I don't think anyone seriously wants to die on that hill. Bob, you're talking about the same Republican Party that's tried to overturn Obama 40-something times. They've tried to overturn Obamacare 40-something times. This is the same Republican Party that went after Bill Clinton, even when all the polls turned against him. They went after Bill Clinton. The same party that pushed this thing that Barack Obama was a Muslim and was born in Kenya. The Supreme. I'm trying to get across to you that this idea of good sense is not something that has stopped them in the past. Same Republican Party that says we're not even going to hear you bringing up any notions of a Supreme Court, meaning Obama. So I don't know, Bob, and I can't necessarily, or at the very least don't necessarily want to take the chance that I have to trust them. You know what I mean? I don't want to have to be, well, Brett Kavanaugh said. I don't want to have to live on that hill. Bob, you underestimate the insanity of this country. Martian Villager, yeah, I agree with you on this. I think Bob underestimates the insanity of this country. A third chamber of elected, non-elected judges. Well, maybe here's the thing. I think you do need something from the standpoint of somebody to be an arbiter. But I think, to your point, maybe they need to be elected, not necessarily selected. I mean, at one point, our political representatives were selected, meaning the president was, if I'm not mistaken, selected by either the Senate or the members who were going into the House were elected by state representatives. But we weren't electing our representatives directly at one point. These things were essentially selected by, in somewhat of a weird process. I don't think it matters if Roe v. Wade is overturned. How many states would actually outlaw abortion now? Are you serious? Are you serious? Hunter Ellis, are you being serious? How many states right now have tried to outlaw abortion through other means? Multiple states. Multiple states. You don't remember just a few years ago where you had states that would change the regulations in the states themselves to try to weed out Planned Parenthood clinics through kind of technicalities? Yeah, they were doing it all the time. They were doing it all the time. Or term limits on judges. That's not a bad idea, Balthazar. That's not a bad idea. Look, I guess my point is, the idea that these guys can sit on the bench unimpeachable for life is a little weird. It's a little weird. Yeah, I like term limits. I like term limits. If abortion is voted out, that is democracy. But that wouldn't necessarily be voted out. That would more so be a ruling by a bunch of right-wingers who essentially did everything that they could that would, mind you, go against what the public wants. It's not democracy to go against what the public wants. That's the opposite of democracy. That's something else. Term limits on Congress, I would, however, let presidents have another term or two. Yeah, the thing of having presidents having multiple terms doesn't kill me too much. They did this. Republicans did this after FDR had, what, 3 terms as president? Or 4 terms, if I'm not mistaken. But my point is, how many other terms? It was the first president to have more than 2 terms. And it blew their minds. I suspect homosexual marriage is seen as more important target. Or that. Whichever one you want to put up as being a target, I'm saying both are problematic. And anything that Brett Kavanaugh tells her is just to get by. There's no reason why she should believe it. It's done purely to assuage whatever issues she's having. Abortion shouldn't be something that can be overturned by popular opinion because it's part of the freedom of controlling your own body. Agreed. Can we bring back slavery through voting? Yeah, exactly. That's like, hey, you know, we have a certain selection. Let's say the people who Trump put in office, a bunch of right-wingers, say we want to put in slavery. You have the votes. Do you have the majority of the public opinion that says yes to this? Probably not. But you have the votes. Is that democracy? No. No, it's not. It's something else. Democracy was responsible for slavery to begin with. No. I think you're mistaking democracy for this kind of oligarchic rule. You have a bunch of colonists. If you want to say that from the standpoint it was laws that was implemented, they implemented slavery, yeah, it was laws by the United States government that implemented slavery. That's true. Majority wanted slavery in the South. Again, was it a majority? I mean, keep in mind, the majority never had slaves. I understand. I'm parsing the difference between a country versus a ruling class. I'm making a difference in those things. I'm making a difference. Bob Romero, I'm more worried about a court that would fight on the side of corporations more than anything else. Right there, right there. Like, and this is why I'm parsing the term, the difference between ruling class versus demos, like the public itself. Would the ruling class vote for the Trans-Pacific Partnership? Yes. Would the public itself? No. Would they say that it was democracy for a ruling class to implement a policy that the public itself wasn't on board with? This is kind of what I'm getting at from the standpoint of ruling versus the democratic process. In fact, you can argue that the government that we have today was put in order to prevent popular opinion or popular rule. Factor 4, thank you, man. I appreciate it. The majority never had slaves, but the majority wanted it because white Americans benefited from it materially less than psychologically. Yes, it gave them superiority complex, still exists today, yes. Well, yeah, if somebody tells you your white skin makes you better and that other person is a darkie is less than, I would imagine it would assuage your ego to some degree. I'm less concerned about then. I'm more concerned about now from the standpoint of the democratic process. Would the majority of people outlaw, and the majority of the country outlaw abortion? The answer is no. Would there be some states? Yes. But you understand, there will be some states that will be iffy about this thing of interracial relationships also. That is a slippery fucking slope. You have their ass. Look, when we say, and we make this argument, that the Southern strategy where you had a certain amount of whites that jumped into the Republican Party, full stop, and planted their feet on the side of Southern heritage. They were real believers. They were true believers. So, you know, so yeah, I guess there will be some people, if we're being honest, if I'm being honest, in the South that will have certain viewpoints that will be terrifying to the rest of the nation if you're going with a pure democratic thing. But if you ask the country as a whole, the whole country says no. And we're not a country of states. We're a united country. But yeah, that's a slippery slope. I mean, if you go to Alabama and you say, are you okay with gay marriage? And you take a vote and you outlaw gay marriage in Alabama, then you outlaw interracial marriage in Alabama. It's like, oh, fuck. We've done that in the 60s. Let's not do that again. My question was about the non-slave owners in the South. They were a majority, yes. They were really in favor, yes. Yes, they were. He's right, they were. Like, think about it for the moment. You're white, you're in the South, you're dirt poor, but at the very least, you're white. You're a station above, the others. I mean, it really was, to some degree, a push in order to change the laws in order to get Reconstruction. Alabama is one big slippery, broke back slope, Tim Flowbrook. But are they in favor of gay abortion? Now that, Balthazar, I don't know. That, Balthazar, I don't know. And you know what? That's a funny fucking question. So, against gay marriage, against abortion. But what if a gay woman gets impregnated? She gets impregnated because she wants to have a baby. Then she realizes, okay, I don't want to have this baby. Are they against abortion for somebody who's gay? The majority cannot pass laws which violate the Bill of Rights. The hell they can't, Faction 4. I know what you mean, but they can do things that infringes on those Bill of Rights. Let's be honest. Like, yes, you can have your free speech, but if that free speech is on a private enterprise, that doesn't stop the government from cutting down on the speech of those enterprises, meaning attacking the enterprises that's allowing no speech. Nor does this allow the government to say, yes, you can have your speech in your protest that's 10 miles away from anything that matters. They can impinge upon that free speech. Habeas corpus was destroyed after 9/11. They can infringe upon those Bill of Rights. They have infringed upon those Bill of Rights. The FISA laws, 99.7% of the cases under the FISA law are proved, allowing intrusion into essentially a ripping away of the 4th and 5th Amendment. Yes, they can destroy and ignore your Bill of Rights. They've been doing it for years. They've been doing it for years. Yeah, poor whites didn't benefit from slavery. It undercut slave wages massively. Yeah, it did. I mean, think of Hispanics coming into the country now. Now, two things. It is the owner of a shop that controls the wages of that shop. Full stop. If the owner wants to pay somebody 15 cents to do a job, it benefits the owner to pay that person 15 cents to do a job because that is the owner and he maximizes his profit the less he pays somebody. If he can get somebody to do the work for free, even better, he maximizes his profit that much more. It is a benefit to the owner class and to the capitalists. That's the first point. Second point. If that person comes across the border, yes, it does suppress wages because it allows the owner class to essentially hire somebody for less pay. This would have been true of slaves in the same way that it's true of immigrants coming across the country that's vulnerable. But it is still the owner class that makes the choice to pay that person a wage to which they can't live off. This is not the fault of the immigrant who's looking for wages. This is the fault of the owner that wants to maximize his profit. And if you go further into it, you can make a case and say it's not even the owner's fault. The owner's just functioning on natural whims of saying, I want to maximize my profit, so I have this cheaper labor or this cheapest amount of labor. This labor for cheap. Why wouldn't I use this labor for the cheap? Yeah, it does affect others' wages, but you have a system that allows the owner to benefit from that particular behavior. I guess if I'm saying he's incentivized for it. Laws that violate the Constitution are illegal. They are. It doesn't stop them from violating them. It does not stop them from violating them. There are all sorts of international laws. We're not supposed to be in Syria right now, even though we have a base in Syria right now. We're not supposed to be helping Saudi Arabia bomb Yemen. All of those things violate international law. Law is only what you can defend. You can put anything that you want in a booklet. If you can't defend it, it doesn't really mean anything. That goes with international law. That goes with your laws here. Fact is, they've been able to strip away Fourth and Fifth Amendment under this big leap of a FISA court. Yeah. Yes, we fought a civil war, all those things. Or Revolutionary War on those things. Civil War was fought over slavery. But I get your point. It's ignored nowadays. Yeah, it's ignored. The argument is that owners won't completely undermine wages because it doesn't attract the best workers. They won't undermine low-skill workers, of course, because there's automation issues. Balthazar, 45% of Americans is up for grabs. Why try to change 26% of it? Right. So that's a good point, Balthazar. I mean, you know, my channel is always looking for the independents, the people who are. I looked at it as there's like 40% of the public that doesn't vote. Roughly. But numbers may be slightly off. But a large chunk of the public that doesn't vote. You had a chunk of the electorate that swung from Democrat to Republican to vote for Trump. That right there by itself, you've lost that group. You've lost like 20% of the electorate. Gone. Went to reality shows. But even within that body, there was a large number that just didn't vote. You have the majority of the population that's now independents. And the Democratic Party ignores literally half of the country. Like, I find the strategy for some of this stuff fascinating. And unfortunately, Greens are not even on the political map. Like, this is an interesting time to be alive, but a frustrating time to be alive, because there is nothing to articulate what I consider to be a change in thought, at the very least, for a lot of the left in this country, even if they don't necessarily have a way to articulate it. And there needs to be some level of spark or some level of vehicle that can drive that home. And it's like you can't drive anything home because there's no vehicle, there's no wheels, there's no body of the even goddamn car. It's just a husk of something that's sitting there in the street baking in the sun. It's fucking aggravating. The new background is strange. This is Richmond. Wait a minute. My hometown. This is Richmond. Yeah, it's a green screen. I'm not accustomed to it yet. I'm not even sure if I like it. Yeah, I'm not sure if I like it. But I'm giving it a few days to see if it grows on me. Look, this video wasn't supposed to be long. Ultimately, what this boils down to is the Democratic Party, if they're going to stop or have any chance of stopping Brett Kavanaugh, they need to have all of their people in alignment, including some level of hook that puts political pressure on Susan Collins to also get on board. And up to this point, the main thing that they were going to use was going to be, you're a woman, you have a vagina, this guy's going to do things that would adversely affect women's issues. Don't do it. And they try to hit her politically for this. Brett Kavanaugh is giving her somewhat of an out, a way to save face, if she is to confirm him for Supreme Court Justice. The thing is, the moment that he's confirmed, he's out of her hands. He's out of her hands. You have to actually believe. That's funny. You have to actually believe what he say he's going to do. As for Darren Levy about the background, so I have not that one. That one is funny. There's Damn it. There is an interesting one that I have. It was a moon background, but I don't know if I have access to it right away. Yeah, I don't know if I have access to it right away. But yeah, there is one that I had where I'm sitting on the moon. Again, trying to feel my way out to see what I like versus what I don't like. I haven't necessarily got a Star Trek background yet. I'm going to get one at some point. There was one with aliens that I had in the background. I have all sorts of weird stuff that I've been looking at from the standpoint of backgrounds. Oh, here it is. Let's see. All right. Why am I doing this? You guys pulled me into doing this background. Yeah. Like sitting on the moon. Rumors that the new Blairite centrist party would emerge this week. They're too cowardly to go through with it, most likely. We will find out. We will find out. I would be mind blown if they go through with something like that. We'll see. I mean, they've been threatening this for a while now. They've used Margaret Hodge as somewhat of a hammer to nail this one home, attacking Jeremy Corbyn with anti-Semitism. It's so gross. It's so gross. It's like using your own racial heritage, the trauma that was experienced by people that were in your particular heritage, as a political tool, political expediency to attack the leader of the opposition, of your own party. It's not even the opposition, of your own party. Your own party. So, yeah, hodgepodge. That's right. Hodgepodge is right. All right, guys. I'm going to end this. Yeah, if Democrats was hoping to get Collins, they better do something, set themselves on fire, because Brett Kavanaugh is making his move. So, all right, guys. If you enjoy the content, please feel free to share, like, subscribe, and you can always support the Patreon. Thanks, guys.